Chris, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with me. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. So my name is Chris Claus. I am a father. I have 5 children. I am a husband, and I have one grandchild so far. I'm a Christian apologist. Haven't always been a Christian apologist. I was an atheist that come to Christianity. And roughly about 2 years ago, I got serious into apologetics. Started my own YouTube channel, and have been going since then.
Cool. Do you want to tell people what your YouTube channel is, just in case I want to find it?
Oh, sure. Just it's my name, Chris Claus. Just search it up. I usually try to stick to dealing with Islam and whatnot, but I believe that within the next few months, I may start dipping back into atheism again.
Cool. I'm an atheist, by which I mean I believe that everything is best explained by naturalism. All the arguments can be better explained by naturalism than theism. Could you tell me some of the reasons that you think indicate theism over naturalism or atheism?
Well, I'm not quite sure if I would be ready to present that type of thing today, only because when I was speaking with the gentleman that contacted me with just reasons to why I'm a Christian, of course, right? But the reasons why I'm a Christian wouldn't be a sufficient enough reason for you to be a Christian. Now, the reason for that is because I came to Christianity um, through a miracle to me, something that I wouldn't be able to explain with evidence to somebody else to I guess give proper evidence to somebody of why I'm a Christian.
Okay. Uh, what? How did you come to Christianity, or why? Why
Oh,
did you come to Christianity?
oh yeah. So it was a miracle to myself. I believe that that's how I came to Christianity. I was an atheist before I did become a Christian. It all happened one night in the back of in somebody's backyard. We had what was called a bonfire. Some people may be too young to understand what that is, but it's where a group of people would sit around a fire, just drink and have fun and chat back and forth. And my friend thought it was going to be fun that if we'd pour gas into a cup and we'd throw the gas onto the fire, that the fire would grow up and that everybody would go up high and everybody cheer and have a good time. But the fire retracted to the cup. Uh, the fire then went to the gas can. The gas can got set on fire. It got thrown at me. Gas went up and down me, and then I ignited into flames as well. I was running away from my friends. They were running to get a garden hose, and 20 to 23-year-old men were crying, thinking that I was going to die, of course. They said it was like real TV, where you'd see somebody running away from you, and you couldn't see their body parts. You could just see the flames coming off the back of them. Now, when I did stop, drop, and roll, which you don't think to do right away, but to eventually it kicks in your head, I had 2 or 3 people standing over me with garden hoses. Long story short, went to the hospital over this, and they had to take skin from a certain part of my body to replace it on my leg because I was wearing Umbro shorts. And they actually melted into my leg that they had to surgically remove. So the doctors at that point in time told me that I was always going to have scars. There was no way that I would ever not have a scar. They may be hidden throughout time with different sun and whatnot, but I would always have the scars. So before I did go to the hospital, was the first time that I actually prayed to a type of God. I didn't know which God I was really praying to at that point in time because I was an atheist, but it led me into reading the Bible, understanding the Bible. And I asked for a certain sign at that point in time. And I believe that God healed me from the scars because within 3 years from the surgeries and the burning, I did not have one scar afterwards. So to me, that was a miracle to me.
Okay. That's a novel testable prediction of some kind, so that's pretty good. That's better than most pieces of evidence. But I don't see why do you think there wouldn't just be some feature of biology?
Well, I guess I would have been open to um, the explanation of a naturalistic reasoning to what happened. Just wasn't ever given to me, of course, right?
But
And
that
if a
doesn't mean
naturalistic,
you're,
well, if a naturalistic explanation was given to me, then I wouldn't been able to attribute it to a supernatural being, of course.
well, just because one wasn't given to you doesn't mean one wasn't there, right?
No, I agree. I agree. One, it just in my mind, there is not one yet that I've heard of. So therefore, that I go with the other view. It's almost like an atheist where they haven't been presented with sufficient enough evidence to believe in a God, right? I just haven't been presented with sufficient enough evidence to accept it was a naturalistic experience.
Well, then we have lots of examples of biology doing things that we don't understand yet because we don't understand a lot about biology. So there's spontaneous remission is a thing that happens like 10% of all diseases.
Yeah, okay. I still don't think that it affects the view that I believe that it was a miracle to me, though. That's all.
Okay. What else did you want to talk about? Because Jeff titled it "Reasons to Believe in Christianity." That was the title he gave me.
Yeah, he done messed you up on this one. Maybe because I thought it was just an interview on reasons to why I become a Christian. Of course, but when it comes to reasons to believe um, in a God or in the Christian God, I believe that one could only believe in the Christian God if they did believe in a God, and I would probably appeal to the argument that I usually like to when with love. To me, love would encompass selfish and unselfish love for a being to encompass what love truly means. Would you agree?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what
Well, selfish love
selfish
would be any love directly to you, and unselfish love would be love not directed at you personally.
like. So does that mean like anyone who loves me would be selfish love, and
Yes. Yep.
if they love someone else, that's not selfish love?
Well, it'd be like your wife loving you. That would be, of course, selfish love, or you loving your wife. But your wife loving your child has nothing to do with you. That would be unselfish love in that type of definition. Wouldn't you agree?
I guess it seems like
According
a
to you.
well, I guess it seems like a strange definition. It doesn't seems weird, like because then love selfish love is contingent on perspective, subjective perspective. That seems weird. I wouldn't I just call it all love. I wouldn't make a distinction there between selfish and non-selfish love.
Well, the reason why I would say that there's a distinction between selfish and unselfish love is because what we see in reality today. And for a God, if he did exist, for an atheist to believe in a God that would exist, I believe that this God would have to encompass everything that involves love. So I believe that this God should be able to exhibit and have selfish and unselfish love. And I believe that this could be only obtained with the necessity of at least, or sorry, with the necessity of three persons. Anything more than that would just be contingent, not by necessity.
So several things there. I don't see why love would need to be a feature of the fundamental nature of reality, and I definitely don't see why it would need to be three persons. That doesn't seem to make sense. Like if it was one person or 10, both would still be able to do love.
Yeah, they would be able to exhibit selfish love if there was only one person, but they wouldn't be able to exhibit unselfish love.
I don't know what you mean by exhibit there. Like so, you're saying it has to be able to do both, have selfish and unselfish love towards other things. Is that right?
Yep.
Why? Because again, I don't see the difference between selfish and unselfish love. To me, that just it's just love. There's no difference between like whether you call it selfish or unselfish doesn't seem to make a difference. It's just love either way.
No, I agree. It's love either way, but I believe that what encompasses love is selfish and unselfish, and that's what we see in the world today. Even if you like a burger, right? That's the love of some that's still selfish to you because it's something to do with you. So there's selfish love that has to do with you, and then there's also love in this world that has nothing to do with you, right?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean,
So when we're
God loves things like He loves not sin, I imagine, um,
but
and
that
that
would be
could be
contingent upon his creation though, correct?
no.
So how could God love non-sinners without sinners existing?
It's in His nature, so His nature is inherent goodness, and doesn't loves things that are in accordance with His nature. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for Him to say that He loves sin or He loves not sin because sinners exist. The only reason that would make sense is if for something to be a sin, there must already be a standard by which someone is being judged before they actually commit the sin. It's not like the first guy who does it was like, oh, here's a strange thing we've never seen before. I don't like it. The next person who does it is a sin. Like the first person who does it is a sinner because the standard was already there before he did it, right? It's not like the first person gets an exemption because they didn't know.
No, yeah, but the standard couldn't be there, but the love or the denial of love couldn't be there until that existed.
I don't think that makes sense. To me it seems like it makes perfect sense to say their God loves things like his own nature, things in accordance with his nature. He doesn't love things that are in disaccordance with his nature, and he loves you. So he has the first person love and the second person love, third person love.
But doesn't that everything that you described, wouldn't that have everything just to do with that one person? So that
No,
would be defined as selfish in a way.
no, because he loves you, or you could love him, or you can love other people. So
But you couldn't love other people until you existed, could you?
sure,
Okay, so before creation, then you would agree that a Unitarian being of a God couldn't exhibit unselfish love then.
right. Something else couldn't love him, but that's again not a different object. It's
No,
still the
no,
same love.
not even something else loving him because that's still selfish. Two other things loving each one without loving the initial one.
Sure, sure, but that's still love. That's like if you say there's like a particle bond between the neutrons, and you're saying, well, there's no other, like say there's only two neutrons in the universe or something. You have a particle bond between these neutrons, and you're saying that that's impossible because there isn't like another particle bond of two other neutrons out there. Well, that doesn't matter. It's the same. If the same exact force, same exact bond, it doesn't matter if another one exists. Like as long as the first one exists, that would be fine.
No, and I understand I'm not creating two different types of love. And I think that's what you're trying to insinuate. What I'm doing is I'm breaking the word love into two categories within itself.
I don't see the two categories. To me, it's just one thing. So I don't see why you would need why would we need to have this separate kind of beings that experience love between themselves, independent of one entity? What that seems completely arbitrary.
Well, to me, it wouldn't make much sense for a person that believes in a Unitarian God to say that God is love because he wouldn't be able to obtain or even exhibit what love truly means in the world today, which is unselfish and selfish. Now, what I mean about that is the Father, within the Trinitarian view, we have the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Now, if the Father loves the Son and the Son loves the Father, that's by definition selfish. By the Father loving the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit loving the Father, that by definition would be selfish according to the Father. But if we had the Father, or sorry, the Son and the Holy Spirit showing love between the two, it has nothing to do with the Father. So that God would be able to exhibit the whole spectrum of love and not just one little facet of love, is what I'm
Right,
saying.
right. I understood that part of the argument. The part I don't understand is why you need unselfish love at all. It seems completely irrelevant. Like it's not. It doesn't seem to matter if it's there. So like if there's just love in one form, the fact that other people can also express that love independently is still a thing. Like the neutron bond, there's a bond between two neutrons. There doesn't need to be a third neutron for the bond between the two neutrons to be able to apply to infinitely many neutrons in the future. And so having this requirement that for the bond to exist at all, it must be instantiated by a three bond thingy. Well, no, it doesn't seem to make sense. I don't think why would you need the three bond thingy? This one bond is fine.
Yeah, but if a theist identifies God as all loving, that would encompass everything in to do with love, wouldn't it?
I don't think so. I think it just means like it is the
Whoa, whoa.
maximization
If
of.
everything isn't all loving, it doesn't have to have everything that includes into that if it's all loving.
Your lights are lots of light changes.
That was my bad. My wife just came inside from outside picking up my daughter.
Gotcha. It's like, was that an explosion of some kind? Like, well, what? So no, I don't think all loving means does everything of love. So does that mean that there would be no, what would the thing you said, this unselfish love? If God was all love, of every single instantiation was love, then there would be no such thing as unselfish love. It'd just all be selfish God love.
Yeah, but for somebody to say that God is all loving, he would have to encompass what that love means. And in our world today, we cannot get away with saying that there is unselfish love. So we would have to say that God would have unselfish love,
Well, no, that
unless you want
seems
to
to lead to
deny
a
that unselfish
contradiction.
love would exist.
Well, it seems to lead to a contradiction what you're saying. Because unselfish love isn't a category. It's not a new thing. It doesn't exist. It's not an actual category of a new kind of thing that God must have this new kind of property. It's just love. So if all versions of love are love and they're just directed at different people, that's still love. So you wouldn't need this new category. But even if you did, this doesn't seem to make sense, because if you're what you're saying is that for God to be all loving, he must encapsulate all kinds of love, which would then mean there is no second kind, because it's all the first kind. It's all the selfish love, because God is all loving. So what most people mean by all loving isn't that it instantiates all different kinds of the thing. They usually just mean it's the perfect, the maximization of love. So being able to entail this new kind of third person love thing wouldn't be in the definition of all loving. All loving just means it's the maximization of love. So like
What
all
do you mean
powerful
the new
doesn't mean it's
category?
doing all, like so God being omnipotent or whatever. Can God lie? No, I would guess most Christians say no. Does that mean he's not omnipotent? Most Christians don't think so. So the fact that he has infinite power doesn't mean he's using that power to do all things that can be done with the power.
No, I was just wondering what you meant by new category of unselfish love.
Yeah, so it's like in ontology, there's different states of being, different kinds of things that can exist, and a relation of an old kind of a thing isn't a new kind of a thing. So, like if you have a neutron bond between two neutrons, if you have a neutron bond with three other neutrons, that's not a new thing. It's not like it's not a new category. It's not like a new thing in physics. It's just the same thing done again in a different location. So, if you have love of one person and then there's two other people somewhere else doing love, that's not a new thing. It's not a third person love. It's not a new category at all. It's just the same love being done in a different location, in a different direction. It wouldn't be a new kind of a thing at all.
So you would deny the existence of selfish love and unselfish love actually existing when within the construct of love itself.
Yes, I would say that those categories don't make sense to me.
Okay, yeah, then I guess we could leave that argument at there. Most people do understand what I mean by selfish and unselfish. So
I doubt it, because it's not like in philosophy. It's not a thing. I mean, I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't see, you haven't made an argument to show that they are different kinds of things. Because for your argument to hold, it's like that selfish and unselfish loves are things, and God must instantiate both of these things. And in order for God to be able to instantiate both of these things, he must be three persons, because you can't instantiate unselfish love if you're only one person. That seems to be your argument. But for that argument to hold, unselfish love must be a thing. Has to be an independent thing. Um, that's the part I'm missing. I don't see why it would be an independent thing. It just seems like it's the same thing in a different location.
yeah, I guess me and you just have different views on it, and that's why I said that when I'm speaking with that's why I believe that the Unitarian God just is illogical, because as I said, that when you take a look at all loving in the aspect and divide it into two sections, then you can tell where the Trinitarian God is more logical than the Unitarian God. But if you don't believe that unselfish and selfish love actually is what love truly is, then I guess, yeah, you wouldn't understand the argument at all. I agree.
All right. And so the next question would be is why can't there be 10? 10 can do both just fine. 10
No,
gods could do both.
yeah, well, as I said, that it's three by necessity. Anything after that would be contingent.
Well, 3 is also contingent on 1. I don't understand why is 10 a different kind of contingent than 3 is.
Because unselfish and selfish love is perfectly completed with just three persons, no more, no less.
What does necessary mean?
Well, if you had by necessity to show unselfish love, then that would mean that selfish love wouldn't be used in place of it, correct?
No. Like, what does the word necessary mean? What is like in philosophy? What does it mean to have a necessary versus a contingent being?
Necessary is what has to be. Contingent is something that isn't, something that doesn't have to be.
Like it couldn't be otherwise. It's like the
Yes.
technical language. And so 3 seems a whole lot like it could have been a different number other than 3. The fact that it has to do something like have love or whatever doesn't seem to be a reason why it couldn't be otherwise. Because I could say you don't need contingent and uncontingent love, and that could be a different way it could be. That would make it contingent. So the property of love would be contingent.
Contingent on what?
That it could have been otherwise. So there's be a not have love or have a different property of love or only have singular love and have the unselfish love be an emergent property. Like any of those are possible. Therefore, it's not necessary to have a trinity.
No, no, I said by necessity for a all-loving being, as we would describe, to encompass selfish and unselfish love, it would by necessitate three person or by it would necessitate three persons, no more, because anything on top of that is just adding to it. It's perfectly accomplished within the three persons, the unselfish and the selfish love.
Right. So contingent means it could be otherwise. And so is there a way we can instantiate selfish and unselfish love in a different way other than
Okay, so
3?
then maybe I'm using the wrong word in contingent. So by necessity, it's three persons. If you want to add different persons to it, it just adds to it. It doesn't take away from my initial argument, because within the three persons, it perfectly lays out selfish and unselfish love. As I stated before, selfish love would be the love that the Father would give or receive. Unselfish love would be the love that the Son and the Spirit would share without the Father being involved with that. And that's why it would necessitate three persons um, to fully accomplish that.
Well, it seems like it make you more like a simplicity argument here because necessity means it can't be otherwise. So if there's a different way to do it, then the current way isn't necessary. So saying it's necessary to have 3 beings to instantiate the selfish and unselfish love, well, that would be false because there's another way to do it. You can do it with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They can all also do it. And so 3 is contingent. It could be 4, could be 5, could be 6. But 3 is the simplest number required to do it, something like that. Um, but that means you could still do it with more and just be less simple. So the reason it's 3 is because it's the simplest. And you're saying that's reason to believe that 3 is true and 4 is not true.
Well, as I said, that three is the number that it would take for an all-knowing being to fully encompass the selfish and unselfish love.
The minimum, the simplest amount, the least required to do that.
Yeah, by necessity, you would need three.
At least 3. You need at
Yeah.
least 3.
Anything more than that, it wouldn't be adding to, it would just be duplicating what you've already had from the three, wouldn't it?
Well, the 3 is duplicating it too, but
How is the 3 duplicating it
wait,
when the
wait, wait,
Son
wait,
is loving the Holy
go back.
Spirit, but
But I'm
it
not
has nothing to
seeing
do with the Father?
why that matters. So I'm not seeing why the duplication thing matters here.
Well, I know, but you said that it's a duplication. How could it be a duplication when it has nothing to do with the Father being unselfish,
No,
but
no.
selfish does have something to do with the Father? So how's that duplicating it?
Well, that's a different issue. So the first issue I'm talking about is why is it 3 and not 4? And you're saying if it was 4, that would be an unnecessary duplication of the properties or whatever, which matters why. I'm not seeing why that's an issue. So like um, the fact that there are 3 or 10 beings doesn't seem to make a difference as to why one of these models would be preferred over the others.
Yeah, and I just don't understand. Um, it, I'm not understanding your question, perhaps, because as I said, by necessity, God would have to be 3 distinct persons to exhibit unselfish and selfish love. Anything other than that is just exhibiting the same thing.
Well, again, I think you're using the wrong term there because necessity means could not be otherwise. If 5 can do it, then it can be otherwise. So the question is why are we preferring the 3 model and not the 5 model? And you said something because 5 would be unnecessary duplications of the properties or something. But I don't see
That's where you would get duplications is any more than 3. If you had 4 persons, you'd
why
just
don't
be
why does the
duplicating the
duplications
unselfish or
matter? What does it matter how many duplications there are? Why is this? Oh, there's an extra duplication, therefore bad.
I'm just not understanding your argument per se, I guess then.
What? It's like
Because
I'm
well,
saying
I'm presenting an argument for um, a Unitarian being or a Trinitarian God, the 3 distinct persons in one being.
right,
Now, I presented unselfish and selfish love, right?
right,
Now, the only argument that I hear back is that, well, 4 or 5 persons, God could exhibit unselfish and selfish love too.
right.
That's
So
is
the
that
first
the
part of
only
our
response you had?
conversation, well, the first part of our conversation was there seems to be no such thing as selfish and unselfish love, and you just said we have a different perspective. That's fine. We can just leave it up to the individuals watching if they agree with mine or yours. So that part was addressed. The next objection, a different objection, is that unselfish and selfish love, these properties, if they exist, can be instantiated by more than 3. So why would a God who's only 3 of them be preferred to Hinduism or something, which has thousands of them? And so my question is um, more directed at if we just grant for the sake of the argument selfish and unselfish is a real thing that can be answered by different gods or different ideas of gods other than the Trinitarian God, why would 3 be the correct number here?
Because I think that that's the number that perfectly would display um, selfish and unselfish love.
What does that mean? Perfectly display. How is perfect displayness evidence of anything?
Well, I think that I've already explained that a few times, unless you just want me to repeat myself.
Well,
I
you
don't think
haven't.
that you
You
want to hear
haven't.
me repeat myself, do you?
Well, so I'm not asking you to say what your model is. I'm asking you to say why is 3 the perfect displayness? What is perfect displayness? What is the perfecty stuff? I don't understand any of the perfecty language you're using. To me, that just seems like you like it better. That's I don't understand why this would actually be more true. It just seems like you like it better. I don't understand the connection between you saying that the number 3 is somehow objectively more accurate than the number 4.
Yeah, I think that we're not talking on the same realm here. I'm just not sure that you're actually addressing what I'm actually saying. Now we're talking about which number is better than another number.
Yeah, which number is true? You're saying you need at least 3 to do the selfish and unselfish love thing. Like, okay. But you can also do it with any of the other numbers that are bigger than 1 or 2, bigger than 2. I would argue that you can do it with 2, but um,
Okay, can you explain how unselfish love could be obtained with 2 persons?
imaginary friends. Like I can love my imaginary friend. There's no
So
two beings there.
are you inventing a different being? If an
No,
imaginary friend, is that not a being or?
no. Beings are things that exist. So imaginary friends do not exist. It's a figment of my imagination.
All right, so if we're getting to the line of discussion where you think that God could just imagine an imaginary friend to exhibit unselfish love, I don't think that you're being honest to a discussion, let's per se.
Well, he imagines stuff into existence or speaks it into existence. I'm not seeing the difference there. So it's not doing anything special. Like for me, your criterion doesn't seem to make sense. Obviously, I don't think there is such a thing as selfish and unselfish love. But if your definition of unselfish love is loving something independent of some other thing, well, then you could do that. You could have ideas. So I have an idea. I love that idea, and that's independent of you. And so if there's two beings and one loves an idea that's independent of you and isn't about me, that's unselfish love. An idea would be like an imaginary friend is an idea. One example of an idea.
Yeah, okay, if that's your point of view. I just disagree with that being represented properly, but yeah, I guess if that's the way you feel.
Well, so
I,
like,
I don't think
if
you're representing my point of view in selfish and unselfish love properly. That's all.
okay, but how? So like, if I have selfish love for myself, I like ice cream or something. I don't know. That's independent of you. So wouldn't that be unselfish love?
In what regards? To
It's
yourself? Because selfish love would be anything loving to yourself, wouldn't it?
sure,
Okay, then you loving ice cream would be loving to you, then, correct?
sure. That's selfish
So
love
that would be
to me,
selfish love to you, according, right?
but it's independent of you. So it's
But that's not what I'm saying. In from your perspective, you loving ice cream is selfish to you because it's to do with yourself, correct?
okay. Yes,
And if you had a wife and you had a child and your wife loved the child, you're still involved, but it has no love to do with you, correct?
right. So if my wife loved ice cream, how is that different than her loving a child? They're both independent of me,
You're right.
right?
Yep.
So
It's
how
still
are those?
unselfish showing love between two other persons. Now, you tried to say that you could show unselfish love with the ice cream, and you said
Right.
me loving ice cream would be unselfish love. But just in what we just went through, you've actually agreed that any love to you would be selfish love. And with
So
you in the mix, if your wife loved ice cream, something other than yourself, then it would be unselfish to you.
yes. So if my wife loved ice cream, that would be unselfish love. And so if only me and my wife and ice cream exists, my wife can love me and she can love ice cream. Therefore,
So
unselfish love.
but three things exist at that point,
Sure,
correct?
sure, sure. And so if she imagined ice cream existed, but it doesn't exist, she can still express unselfish love towards the imaginary ice cream, even though it doesn't exist, right?
No, I this is where I think you'd be reaching for straws, especially when we're talking about an all-knowing, all-loving God, because we're not just talking about this whole conversation just started from um, the Unitarian God and the Trinitarian God, correct? Not just a personal belief. So yeah, you can imagine anything, but I wouldn't say the same thing in God's mind. No.
Well, that's separate things. So like if you imagined ice cream will exist in the future or at some time once we create time, because we're outside of time at this point. Like you believe God is outside of space time, right? That's the typical position. If that's the
Sure.
case, then we're outside of space and time, and so beings don't exist, but they will exist. But since we're out of space time, we can love them in the future, right?
But you're
Or
not
love.
able to exhibit at that point in time because it's something that is a future tense.
Well, if remember we were saying if we can imagine it, then we can express these things. And so if we're going to be in the future, we're imagining it, right?
So again, though, this would depend on creation at that point, because if we have two persons that exist and then an imaginary thought of something that will exist in the future, it's still contingent upon that being created in the future, isn't it?
No, my love for that thing is independent of space-time. So I know the thing will exist because I'm all-knowing, and I experience a unselfish love towards that thing and not the other, my brother guy. And I can seems like I can do that independent of it actually existing because I know it will exist.
Yeah, I just don't think that the argument actually works. It may for you, it just doesn't seem logical.
Why? Like you can love like you can love someone who you know is going to come into the future, right? So if I knew I was going to have a kid or something, and I was all knowing outside of space time, and I knew a kid was going to come, I would still feel love for that thing before it came, right?
Could you exhibit love for that child if the child didn't exist?
If I knew it was going to exist, yes.
How would you exhibit love for that child if the child didn't exist?
It's a feeling. So I have a feeling of love. It's like I'm a materialist, so I think
How are
love is
you
just a brain
exhibiting
thingy.
that feeling?
It's a brain thingy. It's an emotion like any other
So
emotion.
you're
You
not
can
exhibiting it, you're just thinking it.
those are synonyms.
Okay.
To exhibit love is to think it or to feel it. It's an emotion like any emotion.
Is to think it and then what?
To that's it. To think it, to feel it. Emotions are part of your brain. They're a thing, a brain state.
So you believe to exhibit something is just merely to think it.
Yes, love for
Okay,
emotions and brain states.
cool.
To exhibit an emotion or a brain state is to think it. Yes, those are
No,
synonyms.
well, I asked you how you would exhibit the love for a child that didn't exist, right? And you just said you would just merely think it. So you're saying that the definition of exhibiting something is just merely thinking it, correct?
No, to exhibit an emotion is to have the emotion.
And
That love is an emotion, so to exhibit love is to have the emotion of love, which is a brain state.
so just to think is exhibiting then, correct?
For emotions, yes, it's literally to
So
exhibit
when
a
you're ex
thought is to
so when
think.
you exhibit love for an unborn child, to just merely think it is
Yes,
exhibiting it
you
in
are
your mind.
expressing your love for the unborn child.
You're expressing it how? If you're just thinking it.
That's so to exhibit a thought is to think the thought.
Well, to exhibit something, you would have to think of it, but there should also be something else involved with it, shouldn't it? It shouldn't be
What
just the thought of it, should it?
what do you mean?
Well, if you were to exhibit something, you should do more than just think about it, shouldn't you?
No. Exhibit is
Okay.
just like
Oh, that's cool if that's your definition of exhibiting something.
well, exhibit is public display. That's what it means. So if you display your love for someone, means you can
A,
think it, you can
a
say it.
public display is
Yes.
exhibiting something.
Yes.
So you would have to think of something and then publicly display it to exhibit it, then correct?
No. So public display just means like it exists in reality. So you don't literally need to put it into a museum as an exhibit. To exhibit an emotion means you're having the emotion in reality. So that public display means it occurring in reality. So if you have a thought or a feeling of love in reality, it is being exhibited. So if a neutron bond is being exhibited, it means it's happening. It's happening in reality somewhere. That's all it means. So is the neutron bond being exhibited? Well, if it's happening in reality, yes. So if is love being exhibited, it's happening in reality, yes. So if you experience love in your brain as a thought or an emotion, it is being exhibited. So any bond, any expression of a bond, for them to be exhibited means they're happening.
Yeah, I just disagree with your definition of exhibiting. That's all.
Okay. How would you define it?
Well, I think that you would have to first think of it and then actually act on that thought that you had.
What do you mean?
You're just simply saying that you just simply need to think of something and that's exhibiting something,
Sure.
which I would disagree with that definition from what I said. That's all.
Why? Because that seems to
Because
undermine
of what I
your.
said.
No, that doesn't actually answer the question. So if you're saying that you need to think of it and then do something for it to count as love,
No, for it to count as exhibiting love, not just merely thinking it.
okay. So if that's some kind of a requirement, you need to exhibit love for it to exist. Is that what you're arguing? Because You don't
No,
need
you're trying to say that if you're going to exhibit something, you just merely need to think of it, correct?
right. Go back. So I'm saying, why did you bring up
And
exhibit at
I'm
all? So
thinking,
it's
and I'm telling you that the definition that you're using for
so,
exhibit, I don't accept because I
that's
don't
great.
think that you merely need to think it for
Yes,
it
I
to be
got
the
that part.
definition of
So,
exhibit.
what I'm lost here is one, why did you bring up the word exhibit? Like it's got to be important to something, right? Like if it's completely irrelevant and you don't need it, well, then there's no reason to bring it up. So it seems like you
And
brought it up
I never
because,
said it wasn't relevant.
right, right. So I'm saying it must be relevant in some way, right? You need it. You need to exhibit love for it to exist, for it to be real or something, right?
Yeah, did you forget what I said at the start when with the
Answer the
Unitarian
question.
being and the
Why did you
Trinitarian
bring up
being?
exhibit?
Well, if you would have listened to my argumentation, you would have understood it from the start when I was talking about the
No,
Unitarian
that's
and the
not how.
Trinitarian
No, that's
being.
not how it works. Even if I listen to it, that doesn't mean I'm going to understand it the first time. Answer the question. Why did you bring up exhibit? It seems like you're arguing that
It
in
just seems
order
like
for
you're
it to
not being
be.
honest anymore, Tom.
Oh my God, the fact that you don't understand this is just painful to me. I'm
Yeah,
literally asking you for clarification,
I'm
and you
good with
can't
you
be
today,
more
Tom.
honest.
Have a wonderful
So,
day.
okay, wow. I think he just ran away because he just got crushed in the argument. So if you're saying you need to exhibit love for it to be real, and the Trinity exists, but they're not exhibiting their love by doing something, well, then it wouldn't be real love anymore. Like, oh, that's where I wanted to go to this. I wanted to. It seemed like it was a complete contradiction, and it was beautiful. It's a beautiful contradiction to his own position of if you must exhibit love for it to be real, well, then how is the Trinity exhibiting love for itself? And then if it must be exhibiting love at all times for it to be real, does that mean that me not doing something right now means I don't love someone because I'm not exhibiting it? Oh well. Pound. That was a short one though, only like 40 minutes. All right. I don't know. What else should we do? I guess we can end it there for today. I'll probably start a different stream in a bit.